All right, so this begins then the second week or the second section of our courses. And we've already, in the first series of lectures, week one, if you will, we've already covered the concrete, but nevertheless, admittedly, a bit theoretical aspects of the course. So the foundations in terms of kind of preparing our minds to now engage the actual material of these courses, specifically focused on religion, and even more specifically, Christianity and the Catholic Church, and some tangential issues derived therefrom. Christianity was born in the 1st century CE. By the way, in all these courses, you will find abbreviations used in terms of written text as well as when I speak. BCE and CE. BCE meaning before the Common Era, which corresponds to BC in English, before Christ, and CE, or the Common Era, which corresponds to AD, which does not mean in English after death, meaning Jesus. It's an abbreviation for a Latin phrase, 2 Latin words, Anno Domini, in the year of the Lord. Okay? Just bear in mind, BCE, BC, before the year 0. Though that doesn't even exist as a year, but that's another issue. CE corresponds to AD, after the year 0. Christianity was forged in the context of 2 interrelated realities. One, the previous monotheistic religious tradition, whence it derived, Judaism. And 2, the greater context in which both of these monotheistic religious traditions arose or developed, continued to develop, especially in the case of Judaism, more ancient than Rome. Nevertheless, the Roman Empire itself, the realpolitik of ancient Rome. With this next few sessions, we will look at ancient Rome, the ancient Roman Empire, the wider context in which Christianity was forged and arose in the 1st century CE. And then the following lecture series, the week 3 or 3rd week, will look specifically at Judaism, so locally, and the first extant writings we have of this particular religion we call Christianity, namely the New Testament. All right, so with that, so this week 2, this second round of video lecture sessions is devoted to Rome itself. So, what is Rome? Where did it come from? Why is it so important? Not just in the ancient world, not just for understanding somewhat Judaism and Christianity, but the current reality in which we live today, and the Catholic Church. There are 3 historical periods. There are 3 periods that historians, better said, contemporary historians, enjoy ascribing to the birth, progression, development, and decline and collapse, or metamorphosis, of this thing we call ancient Rome. Ancient Rome is really not so ancient. Rome, ancient Rome, was the end of a long, millennia, that is thousands of years long, preceding series of civilizations that came before. And few, but some, historians actually consider ancient Rome to perhaps have been kind of a precursor to the Middle Ages, even, to which we'll come later on as well. The Middle Ages. In the modern sense, the contemporary sense of the term, the medieval period. But that ancient Rome was really not so ancient. It was kind of new. In fact, ancient Rome is the birth of what we presume today, we moderns, contemporaries, to be the new 21st century technological age. That actually began 2,000 years ago. Okay. All of these debates, legitimate, illegitimate, and somewhere in between, all that aside, let's just look at ancient Rome. So there are three historical periods that historians are pretty much agreed upon in terms of ancient Rome's birth, development, and eventual decline and collapse. Three periods. The first period begins with the legendary founding of Rome in the year 753 BCE under two brothers named Romulus and Remus. We don't know if these two guys ever actually even existed. Maybe it's just a legend. However, the story goes that they were two brothers. They were basically cattle rustlers, thieves, who settled in the swampy foothills along the banks of the Tiber River, very close to the Mediterranean in the central Italian peninsula, today known as Rome. They argued on which foothill to settle their city. Remus wanted to settle it on the Aventine Hill. Romulus preferred the Palatine Hill. Romulus whacked, or had his brother Remus whacked, killed, murdered, leaving only Romulus, who, as you might imagine then, decided to settle the city on the Palatine Hill. The year 753 BCE. As an aside, archaeological excavations conducted in the 20th century have determined the earliest, particularly Roman settlements in the city to in fact exist. You can visit them for yourselves on the Palatine Hill here in Rome, dating to the 8th century BCE. So there is archaeological confirmation of the written and oral, for that matter, O-R-A-L, oral records and traditions regarding at least the presence of what we today refer to as Romans in the city of Rome at the same time. Okay. In any event, notice the legend of Rome begins with two, Romulus and Remus, two. Why is that important? We'll come to that in a moment. In any event, Remus gets whacked, murdered, and so we just have Romulus and consequently the beginning of the monarchical period, the monarchy, the period of the kings, ruled by one. That lasts from the year 753 BCE until the year 502 BCE, when the ancient Romans decided to kick out, exile, a guy who would be the last of their kings, monarchs, a guy named Tarquinian the Proud, Tarquinius Superbus, 502 BC. They exile this guy, they kick him out, and inaugurate now the second historical period of ancient Rome, referred to as the Republican period, or the period of the Republic, as in a constitutional republic. And the inauguration of this second period in Rome's history, ancient Rome's history, is also concomitant to two of the three great contributions the ancient Romans wound up making to human civilization. Human civilizations, historically speaking, are considered great as long as they have made at least one identifiable, unique contribution, unique to them, and that remains throughout the rest of human civilization. At least one. The Romans had at least three definitively identifiable and unique to them. At least three. The first two of which have specifically to do with this particular period, the Republican period in ancient Rome, and which are also interconnected. That is, to understand either of these two contributions, you have to kind of keep in mind both of them at the same time for reasons we're now about to address. Up until this point, anywhere in the world, from China to Persia to Egypt, even to most parts of ancient Greece, most parts, not all of them, but most parts, the going model and form of government was monarchy, rule by one, a king. And depending on where you are in the world, this monarchy, ruled by one, was based either on a divinely revealed religion or a particular philosophical ideology. The one exception to that was the famous invention of what we call democracy in Athens, Greece, in the 8th century BCE. Western democracy, or even democracy, was born in the same place as French fries. Whew. Greece, Athens, specifically in the 8th century BCE. The word itself, democracy, gives rise to the inherent problem in a so-called democratic government, a model of government based on a pure democracy. The word, it's a Greek word, comes from two words in Greek, democracy, krato, I rule, demos, mob rule. That means that, let's say there's 100 of us gathered together, let's say students, and I walk into the classroom, virtual or old school, and out of 100 among you, 51 decide to, I don't know, dispatch with my personage, lynch me, hang me, I don't know, whatever, execute me, God forbid. You take a vote, 51 say yes, 49 say no. The 51, that's it. Yours truly is out of here. That's democracy. The ancient Romans in 502 BCE, who were already well familiar with the ancient Athenian Greek model of democracy, they realized that that was problematic for, I hope, reasons that should not by now be lost on you. Okay. In other words, well, it's not really representative of all members of society. Yeah, it's free, it's elected, but it may not necessarily be authentically representative of every member of society, or certainly at least smaller groups of society that for various reasons identify among one another and get together and form coalitions, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So the Romans say, you know what? We don't like that idea. We don't want mob rule. We don't want a pure Athenian Greek democracy. We don't like that. Number two, we sure as hell don't want a king or a monarch. We just kicked the son of a bitch out of here. Rule by one. We don't like that. All power consolidated in the hands of one is bad. Number three, we're not convinced, as of yet, that any of these flying spaghetti monsters all over the place, right? Whether it's Zeus or Kronos or Hera or Juno or Venus, Aphrodite, Mars, whatever. We're not convinced that any one of them, or even all of them together, is necessarily the be-all and end-all of not just human existence, the human reality, human potential, and the way the cosmos, Greek word for universe, actually works. So, in other words, we do not want to subscribe to any particular religion. We don't want to create a human society based on a one or even a number of divinely revealed religions. So, no pure democracy, mob rule. We don't want a king, all power consolidated in the hands of one. And we don't want a divinely revealed religion telling us what to do. So what do we do? Well, the ancient Romans found another way. And this is really the unique contribution. Well, I should say the unique aspect of this particular unique contribution that they make here. The Romans say, why don't we try this? Thinking outside the box. Critically thinking outside the box. Why don't we try this for a change? Why don't we all get together? How many of us are there? Again, let's just say 100. Let's all get together and we'll brainstorm. We will observe the cosmos, the universe around us, and not based on an oracle, a sibyl, or a prophet, or some ideological, philosophical guru. Why don't we just for ourselves, by ourselves, maybe for the first time, use, what was that called? That was a good idea the Greeks had. Oh yeah, logos. In Latin, we Romans will call it ratio, right? Reason. Logical, rational principles, reason. Because kind of like our friend Butters in one of those previous video lectures, we noticed that no, he was right. We don't know about God, but we know, yeah, there's a pattern, a design to everything that we observe around us. a harmony, a balance, if you will. And we are here, and therefore we humans are part of that harmony and balance that apparently, at least from our perspective, has nothing to do with what this philosophical guru says or this divinely revealed religious prophet, oracle, sibyl, leader says, but what is able to be observed by anyone who wishes to engage this endeavor. And therefore, we'll get together and based on our observations, let's just try to think based on reason alone, ideas that may contribute to a better, not a perfect, but a better functioning of human society. So we get together, everybody write down your ideas, make a list of 5, 10, whatever you want. We'll get together, we'll exchange them, we'll debate them, think about them, reflect on them, and then we'll vote on them. We'll take a decision, make a decision. Okay? All right. The second thing they say is, we don't want this to be mob rule, a pure democracy, because what if there are among us that we can't come to an ideal, perfect agreement on all of these brainstorming ideas we're coming up with here? What if there is a significant number of us, maybe not a large number, certainly not a majority, but a number, a minority we'll call it, that still have issues, and they're not in agreement with everything, but they do represent a certain segment among us. They should perhaps have a voice as well. They should have representation. Okay. That's what the ancient Romans did. And in doing so, they invented something which up until that point was unprecedented in human history. That is, they invented what we still today refer to as a constitutional republic. A constitutional republic. Constitutional as in a constitution. Because of all those ideas that we've written down, I think this is a good idea based on reason alone, not a philosophical guru or ideology or divinely revealed religion. Just based on reason alone, albeit imperfect, may not be perfect, we may have to revamp it, revisit it, modify it, amend it eventually, but based on reason alone. We put all of these ideas together. What do we get? A constitution. The ancient Romans, when they got together, each of these ideas, and the ancient Romans spoke Latin, the ancient language Latin, Latin. And the ancient Romans said, one of these ideas we'll call a lex, L-E-X. Or if you will in English, lowercase letters, a law. A law. And as long as a law, lex, corresponds to this overarching harmony, balance that we observe, like our friend Butters, we observe in the cosmos, we observe in the universe, this harmony, this balance, which in Latin we will call use, I-U-S, or sometimes later especially, J-U-S. As long as a law, lex, corresponds to capital letters, the law, use, or better yet, which is why we call it that, use, I-U-S, J-U-S, sounds like, looks like what in English perhaps? I-U-S, J-U-S. Justice. As long as a law, lex, corresponds to the law, use, justice, then it's okay. What is justice? Why is the figure symbolically, in imagery, Lady Justice, blindfolded with a balance, right? Justice, harmony, balance in the cosmos. Human beings are part of the cosmos, and therefore human beings, theoretically at least, must, or at least should, reflect the harmony, the overarching harmony and balance, the use in the cosmos. So as long as a lex, a law, corresponds to use, the law, justice, this harmony and balance, then it's valid. Maybe not perfect. We leave it open to be revisited in the future if we determine that we were wrong, we were in error. At least we're going to admit that and revisit that and try to improve on that. But at least it's based on reason alone. Not a philosophical ideology, not of divinely revealed religion, just reason alone. Justice, the law, ancient Roman law. This is the one of these three ancient Roman contributions to human civilization, which, Deo gratias, thanks be to God, remains with us today. Law. All law, as we know it today, whether it's U.S. constitutional law, Anglo-American common law, European civil law, international law, maritime, it's all based on Roman law, period. So if you want to be a good lawyer, wherever you are in the world, learn Roman law. Wink, wink. Okay. So that's the first great contribution, ancient Roman law, which then, why I said it is intimately connected with the second great ancient Roman contribution, which we're also describing as we speak, namely the constitutional republic. Why? Because what do you call it when you take all of these individual leges, L-E-G-E-S, plural in Latin of lex, all right? So all these individual laws, these ideas based on reason alone. What do you get when you take them? Let's say we got 100, a list of 100. You put them all together. What do you call that? A constitution. A constitution. And because it's not a pure democracy, mob rule, rather it's a res publica, R-E-S, res publica, a public res thing, a public thing, a republic, res publica, republic, a public thing. That is, let's say out of 100 of us, maybe there's 30 that are in agreement with us on all these things, except they still have some issues, maybe on a couple of things. Well, what do we say? 70 versus 30, you're out? No. We say, okay, you nevertheless can have representation. We may not be able to figure this all out, formalize it, finalize it, decide, agree on it today, but we make a compact, an agreement that we will as soon as possible. Theoretically, we realize this is presuming a lot. Remember, we started out by saying this is not perfect, but at least it's a different approach from a divinely revealed religion or a philosophical, ideological guru telling us what to do. We're trying to do this together on our own, notwithstanding our differences, but based on reason alone, and trying to protect and preserve and respect those differences while also enhancing, engaging in, and promoting the positive progress of humanity. So, those two great contributions. ancient Roman law, and the constitutional republic, which the ancient Romans called the Senatus Populusque Romanus. Here in Rome, those of you who are here or have visited or who will visit all over the city of Rome, whether it's ancient Roman monuments or current Roman monuments, you see these four letters emblazoned all over the city: SPQR, an abbreviation for the Latin Senatus, S P Populus, Q Que R Romanus. Senatus Populusque Romanus, the Roman Senate and people. Those from, for example, the United States of America. If you're asked where you're from, you say America, or America, or the States, or the United States. Well, if you abbreviate, what do you say? The U.S.A. Over 2,000 years ago, if you were walking around Rome, if you asked them where they were from, they would say the SPQR, Senatus Populusque Romanus, the first ever constitutional republic in the history of human civilization. Based on Roman law, based on reason. When the republic collapsed at the end of the first century BCE, such a radical idea, such a model of government would never be seen again until the 1770s in what today is known as the United States of America, based on something referred to as the Constitution of the United States of America.